Hi, everybody. Mark Hanna here with Wisdom Gaming. Continuing on with the Battle of One Story Town with Doug Leslie. We're moving into his reinforcement turn. His tanks and some stuff is coming in, and we're going to see what happens here. Let me switch over to the log now. Here's the game log right here. Okay, so to scroll down, you can see that his reinforcements are coming in down here. This is what I anticipated. Uh, it just makes sense to send the small reinforcement group in to bolster this defense. These guys will also be able to, if I don't put pressure on them or keep them contained, they're going to be able to come over this way to make it harder for me or possibly even reinforce this key building. As Doug indicated before, this is a key building for the victory, and it has now definitely become so since his reinforcements are coming in here. So, what do we have to do? Well, that's an excellent question. So, we're going to, well, first we got to see what happens, of course, but I need to point out a couple of critical things that have happened and will happen in this. I'm trying to change the color. Is that changing the color? It is. Okay. Yeah, that's not a good color though. Let me change it to something a little more visible. I guess yellow was pretty good after all. Okay. That's a marker. Let me try to get my act together here. Okay. So over here, I should point out one thing that was critical that happened. I had stacked a full 648 squad, taken it into close combat to try to take out his vehicle. This failed. There was about a 27% chance, and I knew that that was a possibility. Um, and I had put over here, which is what took the thing out, this 20L AT gun in a wall advantage position in case my close combat failed. He decided, and it was probably the best decision to the best possible effect, he decided to attack my squad that was close combating him and proceeded to roll, yes, you got it, Snake Eyes, which caused a KIA to my guy attacking that. So that's one critical close combat that I lost. Now keep in mind, every squad lost is a big deal for the uh, Finns because they don't have any fire groups that they can hold back, with a nice 9-2 or something to shoot while other squads move forward. Each squad has two roles. Either it can shoot and then it can't move forward, or it can not fire and then try to get closer to the enemy and engage them in close combat. Given the short amount of time in this scenario, that's what needs to be done. You can't really spend too much of your time in prep fire for the Finnish team. The Finns also, basically, they're one weapon. Well, they got two. It's these vehicles here. One's a flamethrowing tank, and one is a 76 with, it does have some smoke capability, so that should come into play, ideally. So the fate of this flamethrower tank and what it can accomplish is crucial for the people. As I think Doug pointed out, as for the Finns really need that as well. Okay. Notice also, in the third instance, is there's another melee going on here. This melee, I advanced in and did a 1-to-1, and I made the mistake of not going hand to hand. I was trying to preserve my force. So what I'm going to do is probably, Doug is quite funny about it. You'll see what happens later with that. I'll explain to you what's kind of amusing about that situation. Okay, so let me stop the tape here. I'm going to start a new one because I need to check the audio. I'll be back. Okay, so that's the pause to check the audio. It's working fine. So let's continue on. I'll step through this uh, Vassal log file. I'm not convinced that people really like this method of going on an action report. I'm not even convinced I like doing it, but we're going to finish this, or at least take it to the logical conclusion of this scenario. So let me step through the log now and comment as needed if relevant. So we're going, he's setting up down here. Wind change and rallies are happening and stuff like that. Nothing major happens. I'm trying to rally those guys. They didn't succeed over here. Some more broken guys are trying to rally. Okay. So we're moving in now. Let's see. I don't know if he did any prep fire yet. Let's see what happens. No, I think he just jumped right to movement. He didn't want to do any prep fire. So now you see his tanks coming in down here. You see that? Okay. Not a illogical move on his part, using his tanks to come around and threaten this, who's sort of in an exposed position. I did that because I wanted to destroy this machine gun position, as I need to get these guys across this gap. Remember I talked about this gap here? Well, as it turns out, Doug probably made the right decision rather than putting it here. I think I had it here. I did have a bunch of guys, though. You can see all of these guys ran across this road. And I have some stuff that I want to get around this road now because my attack here got repulsed. So anyway, I took it out. I think the commissar was in there. I'm not sure. I wanted to do my best to do some damage to him in critical areas, because even though this is a B11 flamethrowing tank, once you roll that 11, it's useless. So you need to get whatever you can out of it. All right, so anyway, he's coming along here. Here he comes, here he comes. I trace LOS to that location because I wanted to strip his concealment. And there was LOS. And this is where Doug said, "Oh, that's interesting." Now, whenever Doug says something is interesting, you better watch out, because it doesn't always mean it's interesting for your opponent, that being me. It's interesting for him. Okay. So he reveals it. I think he stops here. Okay, I'm recording how many movement points he's got. He decides to delay for one more movement point. I think we were talking here for a while. So he delays for another movement point. Okay. So now I think he's seen me for, it turns out, for 3.5. 1/2 plus 1 to stop, 2 to spend 6, and 3 to spend 7. So 3.5 movement points. Okay, I believe if you look at the table, ordnance to hit, bounding fire, restricted aim. We're looking at this section here. And if you're 2.5 to 3 movement points, it's +1. If you're at 3.5 movement points, it's +0. So he only has to take a +2 on this attack for the movement. Okay, very critical, you would think. So I'm here busily calculating, okay, what's he going to do? He's got a chance to hit me. I calculate the odds of him hitting and killing me. They're about 10%. Because he's at a +5 here to hit, +6, +7, because I'm he's moving. That's actually just +5 because he's moving. So there is no +6 or 7. So it's a 27% chance to hit. And with his 10 to kill, a 7 to kill, that makes it basically, without the calculation of the additional possibility of killing me with a critical hit, about a 10% chance. So I'm willing to take that chance. Why didn't I go for motion? I've seen him for 3. Well, it's a 50-50 chance. But the thing is, there's two things. I could break him off and go in motion by himself. It's a +1 to do that. So I'd only need to be able to go into motion on a 1 or a 2. All right. So if I try to take the whole platoon into motion, I have to add 1 for each vehicle. So that would be a +2. Having seen him for only 3 movement points, that only gives me a chance of a motion if I roll a 1, and that just wasn't worth it. So I decided to stick it out and take the shot. Now, it's a good thing I did because the motion didn't make any difference because if I can get around to it here, he's targeting it. I think we're still talking about the motion here. Okay. So that we were deciding to make sure we understood. Didn't matter though because he hits with a critical hit. Just like he did over here, destroying my guy with a 2 dice roll on the infantry firepower table. He gets a critical hit on this thing. Even if it had been in motion, he would have got the critical hit. Okay, so I can't win against this kind of dice rolling. Nobody can. We have to suck it up and pass our personal morale checks. But the loss of this squad, the loss of this tank now, you'll see that it begins to burn, of course. After a few choice, hothead, thundermouth pieces of language getting spit out from my tongue, you know, that's it. The tank is gone. That's it. That is it. Okay, so what happens? Oh, I don't think I reversed my field of. No, I didn't. Okay. Normally I like it reversed because it gets that window a little more out of the way. And I don't, when I move this way, my screen moves that way. So I like to track my movements with the actual camera when I videotape. However, it's better when I'm showing stuff to have it track the opposite way. I can't change the polarity during the filming, I don't think. Maybe I could change the camera's polarity. I can't change the software's polarity. Anyway, enough of that technical stuff. So he shoots, bang, gets a critical hit, retains rate of fire. Okay, so that's the blade. I don't know what that shot's for. And he keeps, oh, that was his movement. He's got red movement factor. So he starts to move up. I'm trying to strip concealment, fail to do so. Now, here's an interesting move. He tries to go in with a squad. Now that I can't see him from this guy very well, and he's turned the wrong way, he's going to try to sneak in and get this machine gun out. So he takes his commissar in, tries to pick it up with the squad, and fails. Okay. You could only do 1 attempt per movement phase per support weapon when you try to pick it up in the movement phase. So he can't do that anymore. So after a little bit of cursing on his side, he realizes, well, my commissar failed in that. And he's, what does he decide to do? Does he decide to move out? I forget. We're talking about it some more. Doug and I are always talking about rules. Okay, so he says, all right, well, never mind then. I will leave and go back where it's safe. Okay. All right. Then he's trying to get this crew out of the way. So you can see he finishes his movement phase, redeploying his stuff. Okay, there's a lot of stuff moving around here now. Let's just zip through this because I don't see him. I think I did see that guy. Yeah, okay. Out of range, I can't shoot at him though. This, you'll see, this is 2, 4, 6, 8. Out of range, I can't shoot at him. There's one limitation of these Finnish troops also, by the way. They don't have any long-range fire. The only long-range fire that you'll see that I have, other than the tanks, are these relatively long-range but unreliable light machine guns that the Finns have at this stage of the war. Okay. All right. So anyway, he's continuing his moves. Oh, that's a little too far, isn't it? Let's zoom back in. Okay, so yeah, this was a good move on his part. This became a real thorn in my side as he decided to really harass my broken guys over here, and successfully so. I think he was trying to get over there without going CX, but he had to go CX. Okay, there he's getting out of the way, playing hide and go seek over there. Now notice he put another guy in there. He's trying to pick this up next turn and get out of there with it. Okay. I'm not so sure. I probably shouldn't have let him pick that up, actually. Anyway, I'm not so sure he's allowed to do that. Maybe it's a different phase. I don't know. All right. Anyway. So here's the defensive fire. No, I hadn't done my defensive fire yet. Now here's where I make a mistake. Now Doug was like, I say, I'm shooting into the melee, Doug. And he's like, no, that never works. That never works. He was like coaxing the dice to make sure they never worked, right? So I have an 8 morale in here. If you look at this, he's got a 7 morale. So I'm like, I don't want him to go into hand to hand. If he goes into hand to hand, then he has a 1 to 2 minus 1. And hand to hand, he's allowed to do that in this scenario. So hand to hand combat, he can hit me up. It's actually a +1. And 5 or less, I was like, well, I have a better chance of breaking him than he does of me. So what happens? Okay, now remember, this is him. This is Doug, Mr. Final Protective Fire, losing every single time that he tries, telling me I shouldn't shoot into my own melee. And maybe I should have listened to him. That's a reasonable result. But what happens to me? He passes, and I roll a 12. So that's another critical loss. That's 3 critical losses, I would say, for me. I should be winning these close combats at least more than 50% of the time. Lost them both. Lost my flamethrowing tank, which is crucial. My chances of winning have dropped, I would say, at this point, down from 50 or 60%. Maybe I'm being optimistic, down to less than 20%. I need this thing. I need this thing to travel over here and disrupt this building. I don't have it anymore. Okay. That would have been so helpful over here. I can't even emphasize how helpful that would have been. And he could have made it over there too. Start for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Possibly ESB, but the idea would be on this side, he couldn't stay there, it'd get too hot, forcing him to this side where I'm going to be having troops being able to shoot at him. So anyway, all of those hopes and dreams are gone. So I'm looking at a pretty low chance of victory at this stage, unfortunately. Okay. I'm in a bit of a state of denial, but at least I passed my personal morale check, I guess is what that means. All right, so we keep going here. Had a big discussion about disruption. He was trying to tell me that this guy was disrupted after he failed the morale check, and I said, no, you do the disruption result first, which is splitting these 2 guys, which are ELR 5. You split them into 2 half squads. Then you take the casualty result. So after a 5-minute debate, as usual, I have with Doug, I won this particular rules round. So that's 1 point of victory for me on the personal front. It doesn't help me win this scenario, but anyway. All right, so my tank does all sorts of spinning around, incompetently more or less, but he's going to try to get out of there. All right, so where are we now? Did we switch the turn? No, we're still on the allied turn. I'm still doing final fire. All right, broke those guys. This guy started breaking a lot. It's definitely true that his stuff did start to melt quite a bit. All right, in the melee, of course, he wins that. Unfortunately for him, this did flame up, so we'll have to break and rout him out. So that's the end of the machine gun. So at least that Pyrrhic victory for the flamethrowing tank. All right, so we're going through all this. Here's the smoke. We had to figure out the drifting smoke situation. This blaze just started, so we don't have that happen yet. Let's see. Routing over here. He's trying to rout this guy away. And I think, yeah, he was able to do it. He passed all its morale checks. He's doing advanced phase now. And now it is, he's doing his concealments now. Okay, so we don't generally miss anything. Now, a couple of things happened here that I do want to point out. I'm doing my rallies here. He's, I think, no, he's still checking for concealment. Okay. And he's able to conceal that guy. I couldn't stop him from concealing this guy up here. All right. So that's everything. He rolled a 1 for some concealment roll of some kind. Okay. Now, the saving grace I have is both of his tanks are not in a position to take out this tank. I guess he didn't want to get into a position to do that. But because of this flame right here, and because of this massive number of troops in the 2 victory point building, this can be crossed off my list. I won't be able to get in there, not with the troops I have left, not without the flame-throwing tank. This building is toast. I need to loop around and take this building and then converge on this building from both sides. That's the plan. Okay, let me draw some lines here. It'll be a little more clear. So I've got to bring some guys from this way. These guys have to go into here to take that building. I also have to finish taking this one, but that's not going to be a problem, I don't think. So this will be the key, and the real problem is I don't have a lot of time. It's going to be my turn 5, I think, coming in here at this stage. Let's see. That was his turn 3. Okay, so it'll be my turn 4. All right, there goes my rallies now for turn 4 coming through. I got a hero out of this. I wind up with 2 finished heroes, which is nice. If I can hook them up with demos, that'll even be better. Okay, so we go through all of this. All right, I prep fire to kill this thing. And it breaks, no problem there. This tank here, I'm not sure what's going on. Why am I doing something with that? All right. So I go into the movement phase now. Start moving. Oh, yeah, this is where Doug said, oh, I forgot to pick something up. Now, here he's trying to pick, so this should have happened in his rally phase, but he spaced it out like we all do. There's no question that I space that out sometimes, and I'll ask for mercy sometimes. I mean, it's really, hey, do you mind if I pick up this machine gun? If it's way on the other side of the map, fine. This one's broken, so I don't care. Yeah, go ahead and pick it up. So he picks that up. Then I continue moving. Okay. All right, I'm coming around here to try to wipe this thing out and take this thing out. So he's over there shooting, gacks the roll, final protective fire, didn't do anything, or final fire, I guess. All right. Did he mark it? Yeah, he marked. Now he's marked final fire. So here he goes again. Oh, what was that? Was that final protective fire? Right. No snipers were rolled. He doesn't try it again. He could have done this 3 more times. I mean, if you're going to final protective fire, you might as well keep doing it, but he only did it once. He may have forgotten. All right, I run out here. I'm trying to get this machine gun to commit. And the funny thing is, he actually takes the bait on this. And I'm CXing. He says, no, I'm shooting at you. Bang. And of course, he wipes me out and keeps rate of fire. There is a covered arc created, but it doesn't really matter because that's the covered arc he wants to keep it at anyway. Okay. So I'm like, well, now that you've shot, I can run over here, but I really can't because I got to protect these guys and I got to protect this building. So that's inaccurate on my part. Okay. So now we have a big debate because he's like, oh, Mark, I want to pick this up. Now, I have a problem with that because I deliberately didn't shoot these guys because I knew he only had a range of 2 and he wouldn't be able to shoot at me crossing over here. Now, all of a sudden, he wants to pick it up. Okay. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry, Doug, but in this case, I have to say no because it's well into the movement phase. I moved half of my guys. And now you're seeing that you should have picked that thing up. Okay. And I had to refuse. I normally don't like to refuse, but in this case, uh, given my circumstances, I needed every edge that I get. Plus, I really think it's too late. I don't want to go back to the prep fire phase to shoot these guys now because that guy's got that. So I declined to let him do that. We had the debate, and I was like, wait a second. I don't think you should be allowed. I think yeah, this is where I said, no, you know what, Doug, that's just simply not fair. Okay, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. All right, so anyway, I start trying to run across here with these guys. They don't shoot, they don't shoot, they don't shoot. So I got all those guys across the road. This guy here going across the road now. Actually, don't try to get him across the road. Here's an ATR. And those guys, the prisoners, they need to get out of there. All right, the tank was able to start and passed his task check. So it gets up out of dodge and winds up there. So I still have a chance of getting this tank in on this action somehow on this building. I got him on a road, as a matter of fact, so that was actually good. All right, so I'm running and dashing and scrambling over here. I try to get away as I realize, you know what, I can't. This machine gun's not going to let me make it into the river easily enough. I don't want to be taking 6 flat shots into this building. So this retrograde movement here may have been a mistake. Okay. May have been a mistake. I was trying to loop him around to that side. Not realizing, though, that I was really denuding my defense of the building. These guys can't even shoot at anything. There's too many prisoners there for them. And this guy is the only thing that keeps him from dashing in, or I have to keep him there. So this guy here, as I told you before, was going to become a real nuisance. These guys are going to have to route away. He's CX, so they're going to be able to route this way. They don't see anything over here. But, yeah. Okay, so I start shooting in. What's this, an IFT roll? I don't know why he was doing that. I think I moved in another guy. Yeah. All right. His heavy was really becoming a real pain in the neck. And we were talking at length, where can this guy route to? Or if he routes to there, what happens to him? We had this long discussion as it turned out that if I routed this guy, it was going to give him a path of egress to get out of there because that's a building hex. So I needed to, and he would be able to route and stay adjacent to me because I was unarmed. So I thought that was actually more dangerous than taking the machine gun fire. So I stayed there at the end of everything and did not route him. I went back and forth. We talked about where he could route his guy. And I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to route. Okay. So he stayed there. Um, everything that I had routed there. I'm not sure what happened. I thought these guys were supposed to have routed there. Okay. Maybe I moved them back and didn't realize it. Yeah, there they are. They went back now. He's routing his guy. That guy's destroyed. Actually, I take him prisoner. Taking a lot of prisoners. That's one of the things that you don't realize in this scenario. You don't want to destroy the Russians, but you wind up taking so many prisoners that they become a burden on you. So eventually, I think I declare no quarter. Not yet, but pretty soon I will, because it's just too annoying. Okay, so now I'm doing my advances, blah, 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 blah. All right. I'm doing my concealments now. Another concealment effort. There's a lot of work to play one scenario, isn't it? We try to do the flame. Forget, I don't think it works. And then here's the smoke we had to lay down due to the flames. Now, this would give me an approach to the building, but there's nowhere to go. I could go here, but eventually I'm in the open, and I just don't have the fire support. I don't have the fire support to go after both buildings. It's either this one or this one, but without the flamethrowing tank, this one's going to be impossible. Even this looks unlikely at this stage. Okay, which is a real shame. You know, you play a lot. Okay, so that's the end of this log file. So I go to the next one. This is turn 4. I think this is a short one. I'm going to step through it quickly. All right. We have the rally phase. Let's see if anything interesting happens. He doesn't actually succeed at damaging that guy, which was nice. Something's frozen here. Ah, ooh, what's going on? Okay. I think I need to move this back. This new Vassal module, by the way, needs some tinkering with. These guys keep tinkering with the Vassal modules, and they keep tinkering in new mistakes. I think it's reached the edge of its capabilities, to be honest with you, but they keep tinkering with it. I don't know why. You know, I love these coders. They do things that I can't do, but this constant tinkering, there's something about them. They just got to keep tinkering with it. And eventually you're like, will you stop tinkering with it and just, it's fine the way it is. It's actually over tinkered by now. ASL module is definitely over tinkered, in my opinion. All right, so anyway, he continues on. We're talking about what's happening over here. He moves into that building, and that's really an annoyance for me. All right, now he starts to move his tanks that way because he realizes they're not useful the other way, of course. This ongoing melee, again, I fail to destroy something in a melee. All right, he's messing around up here. They got some strong firepower here. These guys are doomed, really. All right, looks like we're in the route phase now. We had a big discussion about this. This whole area is a very strange area for routes. As it turns out, I was wrong about something. If you have a building, if you're in the building, you can ignore the entire building. So if I was here and I needed to route, I could say, you know what, I'm ignoring this building. I'm going to route 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever, route someplace else. But if you're not in the building, you can't ignore something that is an eligible location. So I was trying to say, hey, let me route down here. I want to low crawl towards that building. But as it turned out, I wasn't able to. I had to come back this way. And that's still annoyingly, this is where this really annoyed me, because this hex is annoyingly in the line of sight of the machine gun, and this hex is annoyingly in the line of sight of that guy. So, another one of Doug's very dastardly maneuvers. He's very, very tricky, and I was almost about to say sneaky, but he just he sees these angles and he takes advantage of them. He's not shy, I can tell you that. All right, so finally I try to route there, then he decides, you know what, you can't. He looked it up. Okay. So over here, I continued to route this guy to get him out of, I didn't want him shooting at a good stack at the same time as that one. Okay. I also don't think I wanted to pull back from here because I didn't want him dashing right into the building. So there was a lot of problems I was suffering over there at this time. All right. He's moving around. It looks like we had mutual assured destruction in here. So that was really another close combat that I did not end victoriously for me. Just constantly losing every close combat. The Finns can't afford that any more than they can lose, that flamethrowing tank in this scenario. Still wasn't ready to give up, though. All right, so anyway, he's plotting his stuff. Okay, I think it's my turn now. Yeah, it's my turn 5. Before his new stuff is going to come in. So this is going to be the last turn of this particular video. So let's step through it quickly. I was like, what am I going to do with these poor guys? I really cannot afford him to break this guard and have these guys escape and running around all over the place. It's a very, very dastardly situation, and I try something desperate to get out of it. And you will see what that is. All right, still in the rally phase, I think. Okay. Prep fire, did I have any? I tried to break that guy, failed. So that was like, that would have been the best thing for me. Use the leader direction, and don't do that with the Finns. You never need to leader direct with Finnish firepower in infantry, unless you have a minus modifier, of course. But the 0 leaders don't contribute anything because the Finns don't cower, I don't think, at any level. All right, so starting to move now. I think we took a break. I'm not sure why. Okay. So here's my desperate act to save the building. So CXing across, and they go right adjacent to this guy here. I was hoping that he would cower. There's a 1 in 6 chance that he'll cower. Does he cower? Does he cower? And he was thinking. And then he's like, yes, but he does cower. Not without causing some damage, though. So there's another casualty in the bin. So the casualties are adding up. You see, I've taken quite a few casualties. This doesn't show all of the prisoners here that he's got, but this is a lot of casualties for the Finns to take. It's just a lot. Okay, my force has been thinned out to the point where it's barely enough to get the job done, and his reinforcements up here. He's got a commissar, I think 6 squads. He's got 2 tanks. These guys are going to be coming on. He reveals to me at the end of my turn that they're coming on over here, which is a slight break. It was probably one of his safest places to bring them on. I was certainly glad that he didn't bring them on here, or even worse, up here. I wasn't ready for that. That's for sure. Whew. So anyway, still, my work will be cut out for me. So we continue to play here. I'm able to rate, since this guy cowered, I'm able to notice how I brought these guys back. Okay, so I routed the prisoners away. Now notice though, out of the frying pan into the fire, they're getting closer to the 5 sniper, and he's the most likely target there. So that's not an ideal situation either. Just okay. But I'm able to reinforce this. This will give this guy a chance to rally, and the building should be safe. I didn't know at this point that his reinforcements were coming on here, but I can tell you I'll need all of these guys to stop that influx. All right, so over here, get started. This is a really easy and nice move, DMing this guy. This is more my style of play, coming around the bend, putting the turret onto this hex. That's where his heavy is today at the moment. And he'll be able to smoke that hex. Even smoke here and have it drift. But smoking that heavy is a really good idea. If he'll probably pull it back to here, in which case then I can do the old ram into the building to destroy it technique and VBM freeze him. Whatever it is, I'm going to have to pull every stunt in the book to try to take this building. I think this building's takeable, and you'll see why in a minute as I continue to move. He starts shooting at me. I get my hero up in there, forcing him to fire, which lets me cross over and hide in the gully with this stack here. That's an 838 coming up with a 9-1. Okay, these guys are deciding what to do. This was a very difficult area to cross because he's got the machine gun bearing this way. He's got this machine gun with a 9.2 coming up this way. And it really makes this whole area unlivable. I did want to try to use this woods. I think maybe I do use this guy for assault movement. But as I mentioned to you before, these guys would have some pretty good coverage for the attack there. These guys have good firepower as I try to come across this direction. It's not really viable for me. Okay. So in recognition of that, I start veering my forces around this way to come at the building from the north there. Actually, that's not the north, from the west. Okay. So continuing on. Huh. I guess I needed to do that. Okay. So here I am hemming and hawing about how I'm going to get across. He shoots from there, but that's okay. I'm glad that he committed that guy. I wanted him to, so these guys could make it across. And these guys could all run up. And we were talking about where these are prisoners. I wanted to get them off the board so they wouldn't. We decided that if I set up on this board edge here, there's a diagonal here from this road to here. That's setting up on this board edge and this whole board edge. It's not just a part of a board edge. Prisoners can be taken off anywhere from those board edges, so I brought them off right here. Interesting. Okay. Continuing the move, trying to get around there. Here comes the hero. Doesn't really have any shots over here. He does have something. Takes the shot, misses. He doesn't take that shot. Okay, I get across basically. Surprisingly so. And this 548 here, his job is to grab that machine gun and create an impossible angle for any of his multitudinous infantry to come up that way. Okay. Try to keep this isolated by fire. It's not an easy task. And I don't know what he's going to do with these tanks coming in. We're supposed to meet again on Thursday. He wounds my hero, sadly. But I encircle him. And all these guys are surrounded here. They have nowhere to route, so they're all going to die. In his route phase when we get to it. I think we were talking about that right now. Okay, so here he comes. That's it. I think it's route phase. We're talking about those guys. He reluctantly says, ouch, as I declare no quarter. Okay, I move the hero back here to stack with the 838. I've got quite a bit of firepower. He's got some encirclement here. I think I can take this building. The one I'm not so sure I can take is this building. And I will only have 2 full turns to do it. His reinforcements are coming in over here. They're really out of position to help this quickly, except for the tanks coming up. Whoops. But I do have, if you take a look at it, I'll have an ATR if he tries to bring his tanks up this way or this way. And I also have a tank up here that can shoot at tanks. I think this has a 10 to kill, so these little dinky tanks have 3 armor. Yeah. He's got 4 tanks coming at me, so nothing to sneeze at. Nothing to sneeze at. Okay, so then we try the flame. Still doesn't take off. Change the drifting smoke because we had a wind change, and so finally the drifting smoke comes and doubles everything up. And here, I forget why he rolled that. Oh, I was rolling to see if oh yeah, we got a flame into this building. That's not going to help me though, because if that's the case, then I have to even take hexes around the flaming hex. This 2 VP building is pretty much out of contention for me at this point. Okay, so I continue my advances. I put an ATR back here. I'm not happy about it, but I need an ATR in case he comes in here looking down this road. I just couldn't let him march his tanks right along the road without having a chance to shoot at them. So there's a doubt here. They might have to break if that flame finally does catch. All right. And here we were talking about different things. I advance. Those guys, this is a concealment phase now, so I'm trying to conceal stuff. It's not a concealment phase, but it's end of the turn. Now he's telling me where they're coming in, and that's it. So you're up to date now. If you want to, please leave a comment, like, or subscribe. I'd be happy to see what you think my chances of winning this are. All right, so make your comments if you'd like. I'd like to hear from you. And thanks. That's it for now.